So welcome to this webinar on managing skill disruption with thisislanguage.com. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to join us today. I appreciate that it's probably not the best time of year, but we do promise not to keep you for too long. We'll chat to you for about 15 minutes or so at the beginning, so that we have at least 10 minutes towards the end of the presentation to answer any questions that you might have. A couple of things to point out before we get going. We are recording this webinar, so please don't worry about taking any notes, and we'll send you the recording afterwards. And second thing is we're going to use the Q&A function for questions and answers, surprise, at the end. So please do pop any questions you have in there as we go through, and we'll answer them all at the end. Right, so I suppose I better introduce myself. My name is Laura, and I'm one of the account managers here at thisislanguage.com. We've also got the lovely Rosie with me today. Rosie, do you want to say hello?
I'm also one of the account managers at thisislanguage.com, and I look after all of our Scottish schools, our Northern Irish, Northern English and international schools. So I've got quite a few schools to cover.
Yeah, and I deal with the south of England and Wales, so smaller region, but you know, we get there. So we're the UK account management team primarily, and we're delighted to kind of meet you all today. It's a shame we can't see your faces, but hopefully ours won't bore you too much. So to kick things off, I just wanted to start with a quick reminder of who we are here at thisislanguage.com and what we're all about. Just for those of you who are less familiar with us, I suppose. So we're an online video-based resource for teachers and students of French, Spanish, German, and Italian. And our main aim is to bridge the gap between real-world language and MFL exams, inspiring a new generation of students to see the value in learning a second language and supporting them, and you, of course, through exam preparation. All of our content is exam board aligned and 100% unscripted as well. So students are exposed to relevant and real world language every step of the way with us. In this webinar, we're going to talk you through what thisislanguage.com can offer you specifically in terms of managing school disruption as a result of COVID-19, because who knows what will happen over the next few weeks. Right, just before we get going, a quick roundup of what we're going to look at. So today we're going to cover, first up, how you can use our advanced class management tool to create kind of catch-up groups and remote specific classes as well, helping to keep all of your students on track this year. Staff management, so how you can take over colleagues' classes if they're absent, and how you can transfer your classes to your colleagues if you need to. And we'll look a bit at cover work as well. We're also going to very quickly have a quick recap of the quickest and easiest ways to find relevant content for your classes. I'll then hand over to Rosie, and Rosie will talk to you about the students' end of things, so how things look when they log in and what they can expect, just in case you need to give them some support over this next little while. And at the very end, we're going to very briefly talk about how we can support students in the run-up to speaking exams and the preparation for those. So that's a summary of today. Hopefully it'll be useful for you. Just so you know, I'm going to be using screenshots from the site today rather than accessing the site itself, purely for bandwidth reasons. I don't trust my laptop to manage both, so I thought I'd play it safe. So I want to start by letting you know about one key feature on thisislanguage.com that we hope will help you out a lot at the moment in particular. Students on thisislanguage.com can be in any number of classes. They're not limited to being in one. As long as they have a username and a password, a student can be in any number of classes that you need them to be across any number of languages. When we spoke to teachers who are currently using thisislanguage.com to help manage school disruption, the idea of catch-up classes came up time and time again, and most thisislanguage.com users tend to create classes on thisislanguage.com that match the classes that they have on their register, which is, of course, a great way to use our resources to support teaching. However, you can use the classes tool in thisislanguage.com in so many other ways as well. So I just wanted to run you through some of those today. So what can you do exactly? Well, as well as having your core as per the student roster class on there for everyday use, you can also create specific groups for students with specific requirements. For example, you can create a class for students who are forced to learn remotely due to isolation rules, or you may even want to create a group for students who require a little bit of additional support due to missed lessons over the next while. To create these groups, all you do is create your classes as you normally would. You click on your name in the top right-hand corner of your thisislanguage.com homepage and select My Classes from a drop-down menu. On the next page, you click Add a Class. Fill out the class details as you normally would and then click Save at the bottom. On this next page, the easiest thing to do is to hit the Copy and Paste a list of students' names button at the top here. That way, all you'll need to do is copy and paste a list of your students' names all in one go into a box like so. Click on Next, and you'll see a page like this one. All of the students who already have accounts on thisislanguage.com will have this Choose an Option message beside their names. Click on it, and you'll be able to add that student's existing account into their new class. If by any chance you do decide to add any new students to the class, you'll see this message. The site will automatically create a new account for them, and they'll be issued with a one-time registration code to activate that account. Click Save, and that's you ready to go. Your new class will appear on your classes list, and you can start to set them work as and when you wish. I should point out at this point that it's also really easy to remove students from a class if they no longer need to be in there. Just head back to your classes page, click View Class next to the class you'd like to edit, head to the Students tab at the top there and click on the green Add Remove Students button. Select the students you'd like to remove from the class, and that's all there is to it. You can also create different groups within the same class to help with issues you're facing around differentiation, like this. This is also a great way of dividing up classes if you find you're teaching multiple classes at the same time and covering the same thing. The best bit? Hopefully, your students only need one username and password, no matter how many classes they're in, and all of their work will appear in one easy to navigate assignments log that Rosie will show you later on in this webinar. No excuses. They'll remember their username and password, we hope. So, as I said, Rosie's going to talk to you a little bit more about how things look on the student end later on. But I just wanted to point out one thing quickly to you now while we're on the topic. The only place that your students will see any new or additional classes or class names is on our global ranking section here. So we have rankings on the student level and on the class level, both within your school and around the world. And on these leaderboards, class names will appear. So your student will know that they've been added to a different class. I just wanted to let you know at this point that it won't affect anything other than the name that appears on that global leaderboard. Your students will still be able to rack up points and compete against each other on thisislanguage.com. If you wish, you can hide these leaderboards, so do get in touch with us if that's something you'd like to do, and we'll talk you through the steps. So we know that it's not just student absences that are making things tricky at the moment. So next up, I wanted to talk you through how thisislanguage.com can support you in terms of setting cover work and monitoring a colleague's class for them while they're absent, and also while teaching remotely. Teachers can very easily transfer ownership of their classes to their colleagues on thisislanguage.com if they need someone to cover for them. They just edit the class details, scroll down to find the owner of the class, click on the drop-down list and transfer the class to a colleague. Your colleague will then be able to assign work for that class and monitor their progress while you're absent. As soon as you're back, just ask your colleague to repeat these steps and transfer the class back to you. As soon as the class is yours again, you'll be able to check the class's activity log to see which activities they've completed in your absence and how they get on with them. You can even download these tasks in one easy-to-view spreadsheet to get a complete overview of how your students got on in your absence. I should say at this point that if a teacher in your school has had to take a leave of absence quite suddenly and hasn't had the time to transfer their classes to a colleague, the primary account holder of the account can do so for them. Very quickly, before I hand over to the lovely Rosie, we covered there the technicalities of how to transfer class ownership and cover your colleagues' classes if needs be, but I want to quickly look at the quickest and easiest ways that you can find relevant content for those cover classes. Very recently, we completely revamped thisislanguage.com to make sure that you could navigate through and by exam board. So it should be quicker and easier than ever to find content for particular classes. If in doubt though, our trusty textbook guides are always there to help you, and you find them behind the teacher resources button on your homepage. Find the textbook that class used, scroll through the textbook guide, and you'll see a comprehensive list of video, grammar, and vocab exercises that match that textbook. So hopefully it'll be nice and straightforward for you to find cover work. If ever you're stuck, Rosie and I know the site pretty well, I'd like to think. So please do drop us an email and we'd be happy to help you find relevant content to support your classes. Right, on that note, I'm going to be quiet now and hand over to the lovely Rosie. Rosie.
Thanks, Laura. So as Laura said, I'm going to show you what things look like from your students' side. So you can kind of get a really good idea of what they're seeing, so you can better understand and support them if you need to give them any extra help. So the screenshot that you should see now is an example of a student's homepage. This is the first thing that your students will see when they log on to thisislanguage.com. So you'll notice that it's quite similar to your own homepage, however, with a few differences in terms of the content accessible by the students. If you take a look at the coloured boxes at the top of the page, students can navigate through our video, vocab, grammar, and nutty tiles sections of the site independently. So this means that they can brush up on their skills outside of the classroom and complete work independently. You'll notice that there isn't a box for the speaking assignment, as this type of assignment requires teacher input for marking purposes, and so has to be set by yourselves as teachers. As always, your students can change their learning language by clicking on the flag next to their name at the top right-hand corner of this page, and by toggling through the different languages available to them. Students can also see the global rankings leaderboard on the right-hand side, and currently have a feed to the left, which shows the upcoming and outstanding assigned work. As you'll see from the note just below the feed title, the feed will be being phased out this month, and in its place, we've created a student assignment log. So this is a one-stop shop for your students to see all of their upcoming, overdue, and completed assignments. Students can get to this page just by clicking on the View button on the right-hand side, which is in blue, or they can do this by clicking on their name and scrolling down to Assignments. Let's take a quick look at what the Assignments page looks like now. Thanks, Laura. So this screenshot shows your students' assignment log. We've designed this page to make it as simple as possible for your students to navigate, so there's no more excuses that they can find their homework. The assignments log allows your students to view all of their upcoming, overdue, and completed assignments in one place. No matter if they're studying at home or if they're studying at school, they can access this page. Assignments are filtered in date order, as you'll see just by the highlighted red boxes, with each assignment type being clearly stated by the logo and also just written underneath. Laura mentioned that students can be in multiple classes. So I just wanted to point out that when students click into this assignments log, they will see all upcoming work for all of their classes. Like I said, it will be assigned in date order. So students can simply click Go to Task, complete their assignment, and their result will be logged under their Completed tab. It's as simple as that. So by clicking on the Completed tab, your students can view a history of all of their assignments, including their scores, points, and also personalised teacher feedback, which is an important feature of our speaking assignment. All of our video, vocab, and grammar assignments are automatically marked, which means that students receive instant feedback on their learning and progress. This helps to reinforce their independent learning, which we know has been really important over the past year. And we think it also helps to motivate them to continue their learning on the site. Students will be able to see their best score in their completed work tab, which I've highlighted just in red. So students can actually improve their score when completing any of our automatically marked exercises. So if they're not happy with their initial score, you'll see in the screenshot here that the student got 75%, which is a brilliant score. But all they need to do if they're not happy with that or would like to improve is click on the orange I can do better button at the end of the exercise. They're then able to repeat the same assignment. It's important to note that all of our Jigsaw and Gapful assignments are automatically generated, which means that each assignment will be slightly different for the students, but cover the same content. So this helps to challenge the students' understanding of the topic and make sure they're not repeating the same text. The last thing, which is really important for students to remember to do when completing assignments, is click Finish and Exit to log their score and their points. Perfect. So as Laura mentioned, we just wanted to briefly touch on our great new speaking feature, which I think will really help with oral exam preparation and assessments for your students over the upcoming weeks and months as we manage disruption. You may have seen our video of how this speaking feature works, but if not, we will be sending out a copy of this video after the webinar, so definitely take a look at that if you need a little bit of a refresher. So the speaking feature is the only aspect of the site which is not automatically marked. This is because we think it's important to give your students tailored and appropriate feedback, which is personalised to them and to your exam board. When assigning speaking exercises, you're able to select grading criteria in line with your exam board specification. You'll see in the screenshot here that we have communication and content, range of language, accuracy and pronunciation as the key grading criteria. You can also give your students personalised written and spoken feedback, which is really helpful in terms of learning and progressing. The screenshot is a really good example of how students will see feedback for their speaking assignments. You'll see at the top, just under the question, they'll be able to listen to their response again, and they'll see at the bottom their written comment and a spoken comment if that has been left. So speaking obviously is a really important skill, but one which we know can suffer if not continuous practice, and particularly given the disruption you've all faced this year. We really think that our speaking feature will be a really great tool for your students to use while studying at home or in class, both to boost their confidence and to get them exam ready. So it's definitely worth giving it a try.
Most definitely. It's something we're really, really proud of this year. Last year, sorry. Goodness gracious. I was waiting for someone to slip up on that, and it'd be me. So we've taken up more than enough of your time now. So it's over to you. If you've any questions whatsoever, please do pop them in the chat or use the Q&A function to ask them. If not, I'm going to pop our generic email address up on the screen here. Get in touch with us at any time. You can also email Rosie directly or myself directly if we have introduced ourselves to you already. You should have our email addresses. It's just our names followed by @thisislanguage.com, so nothing too complicated. Thank you so much again for joining us today. We'll wait around until 1 o'clock. If you do have any questions, fire them up and we'll answer them. If not, Happy New Year, and I hope you have a lovely term. Bye, guys.
Bye.